everyone, welcome back to Dailies by Daylight, and we don't actually have all that much, because I had a Survivor game last time, and I don't tend to, I try not to do Survivor, Killer. I try to alternate a bit, but I've had a glut of Survivor Dailies, which did not help Survivor Dailies or specific Killer Dailies, but the other Killer Daily I just had was Freddy, whom I already did a whole video about as the easiest daily in the game. So what I have for you today is Rite of the Last Breath. With the nurse, blink to a survivor and hit them 4 times. That is the Lethal Blink score event. And I do have a leveled up nurse. She's level 36 because I'd already unlocked her last perk in the shrine. And she's not bad. Quite the opposite, actually. No one does the nurse quite as well as the nurse. Everyone else more or less does what she does, but worse. So, she's got Strider, your acute sensitivity to the breathing of your prey. Breathing of survivors in pain is 25% louder. Thanatophobia is the more commonly one seen, which is for each injured, dying, or hooked survivor, there is a penalty towards action speeds for repair, healing, sabotage. And then there's the one that's basically something everybody should be assumed to have, is Nurse's Calling, which reveals the survivors who are trying to heal or be healed within a radius around you maximum. Well, starting off at 20, I believe it's 24 for the actual max. Nope, 28, I was wrong. 24 must be 2 then. Okay. But yeah, so I don't have her at full tier. And the perks I have with her are not necessarily grand. So I've got No Ed free, handy. I've got Whispers free, also handy. I've got Nurses free, and I have Thanatophobia 2. And I don't really have many of the more recent perks I've unlocked. So I think the most recent here is Franklin's 1, and I'm pretty sure I got that from the shrine anyways. So, little bit of a mess here, unfortunately. But we're going to take the nurse out, and we're going to talk about exactly how she works, especially with how she works in regards to the upcoming killer called the Spirit, who does sort of what she does, as does the Hag. There's a bit of a theme, it would seem, of female killers, but let's get into a game and see how we do. Okay, well, Papa Humph there hasn't readied up just yet, but I think we're probably going to get our match here. And we have Nia as a flashlight, Claudette as XOXO, Akuma as Meg, and I think it's Akuma that worries me the most. We'll see if Papa Humph there changes over into something I should be more worried about momentarily. But, it's mostly just the prestige here. Of course, anybody can be prestige and anyone can just not wear their prestiged items, so more or less everybody here could be full prestige and I'd never know it. But we'll see. We'll see. No last-minute changes by the looks of things, no torches, which is especially good for the nurse. Let's see how this goes. Mother's Dwelling in the Red Forest. Not the worst of maps for the nurse, certainly not. Now, I am not good at the nurse, it is fair to say. But it's not because the nurse is bad. The nurse is actually considered by many to be the best killer in the entire game. The reason I'm bad at playing nurse is pretty much exclusively because I cannot control my blinks pretty much at all. Oh. Now, the reason I can't really control my blinks is that I don't have a remote read on exactly where the blink is when I let go. All I can really say for certain is that it's some distance ahead of me. Possibly it's... Oh. Possibly it is at max distance, possibly it's at short distance. I don't know which is which. But again, this is not something I can really... Okay, there's our one lethal blink. It's not something I can really ascertain. And it is... Ooh, there's a lot of problems going on over there. It is something that can be resolved with one of the nurse's add-ons. Oop, are we about to get our second? Yes, we are. Okay, that's 2 out of 4. Grand. It is something that can be resolved with, I believe it's the plaid dress add-on for the nurse, which allows you to actually have an icon that shows you where the blink is going to go. This is one of the two it's one of the two weaknesses, one of the two drawbacks of the nurse. The second is, as you've been seeing quite a bit there, the fatigue. The fatigue is significantly higher based on whether you've swung right after a blink, and significantly higher based on whatever add-ons you happen to be running. But, nonetheless, it is said that there is still no one quite as powerful as the nurse. There are, to be clear, other killers that teleport. There is quite noticeably the hag. Oh wow, just completely gone. Huh. The hag, and coming soon-ish, the spirit. The spirit doesn't strictly teleport. She leaves behind a husk, and that husk then is just a marker of where they started out, and they are just moving at relatively high speed. The spirit is actually in function a lot closer to the wraith, but the hag does teleport specifically. And the hag's method of teleportation is distinct from that of the nurse in that it doesn't stagger her in any way. There is a limit to it that you can increase using different add-ons, but for the most part, the main limiting factor for the hag is just making sure that you are going to teleport to a specific location. And hello, and our second friend. Oof. That is one of the best ways to avoid getting telefragged by the nurse, by the way, is just run straight at them, because the teleport is constantly moving away from the nurse, so... Oof, so running towards them is a great way to avoid it. And indeed, I am most likely about to get duped considerably, if I am not cautious here. I can, however, hear this. There's free. Which way you going? Which way you going? And I'm stuck in the kitchenware. Okay. I genuinely can't move. This is a problem with the nurse. You can occasionally get to places that aren't really all that great to be. But yeah, the hag teleports like the nurse, but the hag doesn't have an option of where they go, unlike the nurse. So they have to worry about that, whereas the nurse just point and click, basically. Let's just keep this in motion. You're doing well so far. I wasn't expecting to have a whole kill in by this point, but here we are. And this is still going down. Okay. Where might I find somebody else? There is someone nearby. It is, however, the most that I can really say for sure. Oop. Yeah, no more whispers. They must have gone this way. Alright. So it is curious, of course, that we've got 3 out of 4, well, 5, in fact, female killers coming soon, that are able to teleport in one fashion or another. We'd expect that there would be more diversity. We'd expect that we'd see the teleportation to be on both sides. But it is almost exclusively a female killer's kind of thing, for some reason. Now, movement abilities aren't unique to female killers. We do have to, for example, consider the hillbilly who doesn't teleport at all, but is able to travel considerable distances using his chainsaw rev. Okay, that's not a lethal blink, but it is definitely an injury. And you're over here. You're not gonna try and slam me again, okay. I mean, it didn't work out for the first guy. So, that's fair. Okay, let's get you on a hook, shall we? And we are right by the basement, I think, aren't we? No, we are where the basement usually is. In its most advantageous form. What a surprise, that's exactly where I was about to go. I need to hit one more person. Come on. Now, the chain blink of the nurse is arguably the best part of using her blink. The problem being that the more you chain blink, the longer your fatigue's going to be. I know you're nearby, I just don't know where. Well, we're down to one gen, but I think I see our target. There's our last lethal blink. What a coincidence. I swear I saw two people there. Yes, I did. Hi. Nudge. Okay, one of them at least went this way. Other one's probably hanging back. Ah, didn't quite go far enough. So the main difference in skill between a good nurse, which I am not, and a bad nurse, which I kind of am, is pretty much exclusively the capacity to judge your blinks. Ideally without using an add-on that you can, for example, use for a different chain blink. Where's a hook? There's a hook. Convenience! The nurse is also vulnerable to flashlights, which Claudette seems to be running around with right now. But, flashlights aren't a huge concern to her, because unlike the Wraith, who can be burned and stunned just by sheer virtue of having been touched by a flashlight, the nurse has to actually be blinded whilst she's in the process of teleporting. I did see you around here. You did not do the smart thing and go for your friend. Okay. Now you're doing the smart thing and going for your friend. Two of you at once, huh? Let's see how this goes. I am so sorry, flashlights. I was not aiming for you. But it looks like Claudette has doomed you. No one else around here. I've spotted so far, at least. Oh, I suspect I'll be seeing some salt tonight. Oh well. Yep, nobody else here. There is another generator way over here that we can have a look at. I don't suspect they'll be using this one, though. Yeah, untouched completely. But there is only one generator left. It is possible they can just be looking for the hatch at this stage. Yeah, that's still regressing. So they are most likely working on this one. No, they're not working on gens at all. Ah, interesting, interesting. I wonder where we'll find them. Somebody's nearby. Somebody's over here. Hello. That is the rarely seen teleport grab, which you don't see terribly often because it is very hard to pull off if you can't really judge your blinks. But on occasion, I've been known to get it. Okay, Meg. There you are. Oop, can't go through there. There we go. I do have no ed, so if she do manage to pop another generator, then she's just gonna make things even worse. There we go. All done. Now, the blink is so powerful not just because the nurse can come from basically anywhere, but also because it very, very much allows her to end a chase on her own terms. The survivor doesn't have to mess up so much as the nurse just has to judge her blink properly. And that would be a full stack of 4. Let's just give this a nudge. Sally Smithson's Generator Museum. Please do not touch the exhibits. So, that is how the nurse plays. I am not great at her, but we did fairly well that time. I think a large part of that was mostly just due to 2 survivors trying to work on either work on the same generator or rescuing the same survivor, but nonetheless it didn't work out quite well for them. But I think that serves as a decent show and tell about the nurse and why she's significantly powerful, but only if you're very good at her. Which I am not, it has to be said. And let me see, what did we have? We had Borrowed Time, we had Urban Evasion, Sprint Burst, Balanced Landing, Self-Care, and Live. Self-Care is not so great when you're trying to deal against a nurse. Dark Sense, Spine Chill, Empathy. But, nonetheless. So, yeah, that's how the nurse works. That's why I'm not good at her. And it's interesting just how rare it is that behavior will try to add a killer or an ability for a killer that goes really to the tier that the nurse's blink has. She was added very early on. I'm curious to see if they'll ever add somebody that can do the same thing she can, or similar or better. The hag, as we noted, doesn't get to choose where she goes, although theoretically has a much longer range, and also cannot do it discreetly for the most part. She needs an add-on to hide her trap in that case. And the spirit that's coming visually teleports, but does not actually teleport. She's actually more like the Wraith, who also could probably do a few buffs of his own, but none more so than Freddy. But that's it for tonight, and I hope you've enjoyed, and I'll catch you all next time.